So, hello and welcome. My name is Shannon. My pronouns are they, them. And today we have Restorative for Long COVID. This is the first in our series of four courses over the next 4 Sundays. So, today we'll be using several props. I'm seated on my bolster, but this is what a bolster looks like. I have two yoga blocks and I have a stack of folded blankets. Now, if you don't have a bolster, no worries. You can grab a couple of bed pillows. If you don't have yoga blocks, that's okay. Grab some extra blankets or maybe some small throw pillows that we can use just to make space to adjust our props. Um, and again, there's no such thing as too many props because the more props you have, the more options you have to personalize the asana or posture to your body. And as someone who teaches accessible yoga, for me, it's all about finding what works in your body. So as we come into postures, if the shape that you're in doesn't look like the shape that I'm in, that's okay. It's going to look different for all of us. It's really just about evoking maybe the physical sensation or finding rest in a way that's comfortable for us. That's important. So today we're going to be looking at a few different things. We'll be starting with some pranayama, which is breath work. And this breath work is meant to open the body to make sure that we're taking in enough air and enough energy. In Sanskrit, prana means both breath and energy, and I think that's perfect because really oxygen is what keeps us moving. So we're going to start in a comfortable seated position, and that might again look different for everybody. You might want to sit in a cross-legged position or a cobbler style, also called easy pose or easy posture. I'm going to be seated in Baddha Konasana or butterfly, which is the feet together, knees apart, because I have a larger belly and larger thighs, and it's difficult for me to sit cross-legged comfortably. So this way I can bring my belly between my legs and I have lots of space. I'm also seated on my bolster. So my hips are raised above my knees, which makes this a bit easier. Some folks might like a little extra support beneath the knees, so you can use your block, your pillow, your blankets for that. So I'll give everyone a moment to find a position. If you're also more comfortable sitting on your knees or in a wide-legged position, you can do that. I'll probably change my leg position throughout because I have lipedema, which means that my legs are quite large and very sensitive. So holding them in certain positions for too long can sometimes be uncomfortable. So I'll be moving them as I see fit, and you can do the same as well. So let me double check, see if anyone has any questions. Thank you, Amy. So once we find our position, we'll take a few moments and we'll just kind of take a little inventory of our space. Because we'll have the option to close our eyes. Sometimes it's helpful to notice what's going on in the space so we're not surprised or shocked by sounds or things that might be going on. So after we've kind of looked around, we also might take a moment to notice what we're hearing. I live in a city, so through your speakers, you might hear sirens, people yelling outside, but also take note of what's going on in your space as well. And once we've done that, we might choose to close our eyes. We also might just have a soft gaze. If you're not comfortable closing your eyes, that's okay. We'll take a few moments to notice the sensation of our bodies against whatever we're sitting or resting against. So maybe noticing the sensation of the body against the mat, against a bolster or pillow if we're seated on that. And we might let ourselves be heavy, really resting against those supports, resting against the floor, and letting ourselves be held by those objects. And we might notice that support goes through those objects, through the mat, through the floor, all the way down into the earth beneath us, no matter how far beneath us it is today. We can let ourselves rest against the unconditional support that the earth provides. And then we might slowly come to the breath. We might take a few deep breaths, maybe in through the nose, out through the mouth, only if that feels comfortable. Maybe releasing with a sigh or vocalization. And then we'll find our natural breath, whatever that looks like for us. And we'll take a moment and notice our own breath without trying to change it or alter it in any way. We might notice if we're breathing in through the nose or through the mouth. We might notice if we're breathing more into the heart space or into the belly. And there's no right or wrong here. We're just allowing ourselves to observe what's happening in this moment. We also might notice where else we feel the breath in the body. So maybe we notice the shoulders moving up and down. Maybe we feel the ribs expand. Maybe not. And when we're ready, we're going to slowly start to modify the breath. So we might, if it's comfortable for us, start pulling the breath in and out through the nose. If we're congested, we can breathe in and out through the mouth. But if it's available to us, we might again breathe in and out through the nose. And whether we're breathing through the nose or the mouth, we might see if we can pull that breath all the way down to the belly. So it might be helpful to bring the hands onto the belly. And on our inhale, we'll see if we can make it expand. And on our exhale, release. So we're pulling the breath down into the diaphragm. And when we're ready, we might bring the hands a bit higher onto the rib cage, maybe around the sides or under in the front, whatever's comfortable. And we'll see if on our inhale, we can not just make the belly expand, but also make the ribs expand. And then on our exhale, we'll see if we can release the air from the ribs and then down from the belly. And once we feel comfortable with that, we might bring the hands up to the heart space. And on our next inhale, we'll pull the air down into the belly, to the ribs, and up into the heart space. Allowing ourselves to breathe fully. Exhale, releasing from the heart space, from the ribs, from the belly. And once we're comfortable with this, we might bring the hands up to the collarbones or the shoulders. And again, as we continue to breathe, filling the belly, filling the ribs, filling the heart space, and seeing if we can fill all the way up to the top, up to the collarbones. And then exhaling from the collarbones, heart space, ribs, belly. And when we're ready, if we like, we can release the hands to wherever is comfortable. We might like them on the belly or we might like them on the legs. And we'll continue to breathe, pulling the air down into the belly, the ribs, the heart space. Exhaling, feeling the heart space lower, the ribs deflate, and the belly soften. And we'll continue this for the next 2 minutes or so, going at our own pace. Noticing how the air fills and retreats, almost like a wave washing up on the shore and pulling back. If at any point you need a break, you can return to your natural breath. But if it's comfortable, we'll continue for 1 more minute. And when we're ready, we'll slowly release our 3-part wave or Dirgha Pranayama. Coming back to our natural breath. Excuse me. And when we're ready, we'll slowly begin to blink the eyes open. You can grab a drink if we like. So some of the benefits of our pranayama or breath work are we're kind of retraining the body to use the entire lung capacity, because generally we breathe largely from the heart space. If we have some voice training, we might breathe from the diaphragm, but we often forget about the rib cage and the breath capacity that we have up higher as well. The other thing is we're moving the breath in and out through the nose. And there's lots of benefits for breathing through the nose, largely the production of nitric oxide, which helps with our respiratory and autoimmune function. So from here, we're going to start moving into our first asana. So our first supported asana is a supported twist. So I'm going to come down to the mat because I'm seated on my bolster. Excuse me. It's very dry here. So when I practice pranayama, it tends to dry out my nose a little bit and I end up coughing for a bit. So I'm going to bring my bolster to the center of the mat. I'm going to start with the bolster on my right side, but you can start on whichever side because we'll be doing both. So we have a few different options for entry. The first option is to keep our bolster flat. And this is something that might be helpful if you have the capacity and the mobility to turn into our twist. So let me kind of demo loosely what that might look like, because I do not have this mobility because my belly hits my leg and I just don't have space. But we can start with one leg kind of pulled in front of us as if we were in Baddha Konasana, and we can extend the opposite leg out to start. And bring the right hand or whatever hand is accessible to us behind the bolster. And sometimes at this point, I like to fold the leg behind me just to give me a little bit more space. And then we can rotate the body in the direction of the bolster and come downward. So first, you can see I don't have this mobility, so I'm going to offer a few options. But if you do, you can come down. Once you come down, if you feel that maybe you need a bit more support under the face, under the head, you can add pillows or smaller blankets as well. So we just want to make sure that we feel comfortable. If we don't have the spinal mobility to twist forward, that's okay too. We can come down onto the side and then let the shoulders slowly drift forward and let gravity take over, pulling the shoulder forward, so that over time we'll be pulled a little bit more into the twist. When that happens, sometimes we might need extra support through the front of the body, so we can grab one of our blankets, fold it in half, and use that to support the side of the body that's raised so that it can slowly come down. So if you don't have the mobility, we can do a few more things. We can add blankets, we can add pillows until it is high enough. I don't know if this is high enough for me right now, but we'll see. So again, same position. If you have a larger belly, sometimes it's helpful to pull the belly up onto the leg so that we can come into the twist. Other people like to pull it off the leg. It really just depends on what's comfortable for you. Bringing the hand forward, facing our support, and then coming downward. So again, this isn't working for me, so I'm going to give you another option. And this is where our blocks or smaller pillows come in. So I'm going to take my blocks. I have one in a high position and one in a low position, so it creates this kind of L shape. And then I can bring my pillow or my bolster against that to create a bit of a ramp. So if you don't have blocks, don't worry. We can stack smaller pillows or folded blankets underneath to create this kind of shape. Because what we really want is the support through the upper body. So we're going to do that how we need to do that. Like I said, there is no wrong way. I'm a short person. So my arms sometimes don't reach down to the ground to rest comfortably. So you can also grab one of your blankets or your extra pillows and put them on either side so that you have somewhere comfortable to rest your arms. And finally, I'm going to add, actually, I think this pillow, one of my blankets up on top. So I have support under the head. And this will just allow me to make any alterations I need. And if you're cold, of course, you can take a blanket and cover yourself up as well. So we have a few different options, but once we find something that works for us, and again, if none of these work for you, go ahead, type in the chat, and I'll offer some other options. So I am basically seated at the base of my ramp or the base of my bolster. I have, because my bolster is on my right side, my right thigh is up against my bolster or mat. I have my left leg either extended out directly from my body or folded kind of behind me at a 90-degree angle, very similar to deer legs if you're familiar with that posture. And then I'm going to rotate the upper body in the direction of my bolster and slowly come down to my bolster. So again, if today the heart space isn't coming to the bolster, that's okay. We can rest on our side and slowly pull the left shoulder forward into our twist. So once we're here, we're going to hang out here for a while. Most of our restorative postures are going to be held for about 4 to 5 minutes, sometimes longer. And the point isn't to force ourselves into a position or force ourselves into the twist. We're trying to support our bodies in a way that the muscles can release and relax. And this supported twist in particular is opening up the rib cage, the back. So if we like, we might also focus on noticing when we breathe, if we can feel it in the back. So during our three-part breath, we felt the ribs expand. Here, you might also concentrate on the opening of the ribs. And as we come more forward and place a little bit more pressure on the front part of the body, we also will kind of be pushing that breath into the back. A large percentage of our lung capacity comes from the back of the lungs, not just the front. So again, continuing to breathe. Allowing ourselves a bit of ease, a bit of rest here. If we like, we can stack the knees on top of each other if that's more comfortable for us. Sometimes that might help us come a little bit deeper into the twist if we like. Continuing to follow the breath. Remembering that we can make any adjustments that we need. And as we start to release in the posture, we might need to make little adjustments. That's okay. It's an opportunity to listen to our body and what it needs from us in this moment. And when we're ready, we'll slowly begin to press up away from our supports, opening the heart space so that we are coming out of our twist. And we'll make our way into a seated position. So we have a few options. We can simply flip over, bringing the other hip down, or if we want, we can rebuild on the opposite side of the mat. That's what I'm going to do today so that I can continue to face y'all. But if you'd rather flip over on the opposite side, you can do that as well. So this time, our bolster, our mat, our bolster, our pillows, whatever we're using for our props, will be set up on the left leg, or we can roll over and our left leg will be against our props. And just one thing to keep in mind is that we do tend to be asymmetric in our mobility. So if we need to make adjustments on this side that we didn't on the other side, we can do that. Okay? So I have my left leg, my thigh against the bolster. My right leg is extended out. I'm going to bring my hand down behind the bolster. Make any adjustments I need. So I'm pulling my leg behind me because that's how I'm comfortable. I'm going to bring the heart space in the direction of the bolster and gently release down. Again, I can have my head against a pillow. If bringing the heart space towards the bolster isn't accessible to us, we can lay on the left side and bring the right shoulder forward to help us pull into the twist slowly. And once we're there, if we like, we can stack the legs, make any adjustments we need, and we'll be here for another 4 minutes. Again, we might notice the sensation through the ribs, through the back, through the hips, anywhere that we're feeling. If there's anywhere that feels tight on our exhale, we might see if we can release that area, allowing ourselves to rest against the support of the props, the support of the earth. Allowing ourselves to invite softness and ease into the body and into our lives if needed. Maybe noticing the breath through the back body. And again, when we're ready, we might slowly begin to press the hands against the floor on either side of the bolster, slowly coming up, opening the heart space, and coming back to a seated position. So for our final resting position today, I'd like to offer Savasana, and we have several options. So the first option is very similar to our twist as far as the prop setup. So I have here my bolster that is supported up. I have a small pillow beneath the head. I have maybe a pillow or a blanket on either side. But this time, instead of bringing our leg against the bolster, we'll bring our bum against the bolster. And if we like, we can have a blanket, we can have our eye pillow handy. We'll slowly recline back against the support of our bolster and our props. We can make any adjustments we need So our arms are resting comfortably on our blankets or pillows. We can stretch the legs out, maybe letting the feet fall to the side. And here we have our supported Shavasana or corpse pose. So we have this option. We also have the option of lying flat on the mat and moving our bolster or pillows down beneath the knees. So this is really helpful for folks who prefer to lie flat, but who sometimes get pain or discomfort in the low back. By lifting the knees, we're taking a lot of that pressure off. So we also might use one of our blankets as a pillow under head. Of course, we can cover ourselves with a blanket. We can still use our eye pillows. We just recline against the mat itself and lift the legs over our pillow or bolster. If we're using a pillow under the head or a blanket under the head, we may just want to make sure that it's under the head and neck so the shoulders can lie flat. Arms can come out to the side so they can be against the body, whatever is comfortable. And we can choose whatever option feels more comfortable for us. If it does not feel comfortable to have the bolster or pillow beneath the knees, we can also feel free to lie directly against the mat with nothing beneath us as well. And once we found our comfortable Shavasana, we might take a few deep breaths again, maybe in through the nose, out through the mouth if that feels good. Releasing with a sigh, a vocalization, letting go, allowing ourselves to find rest in this moment as we are. Supported by our props, supported by the earth beneath us. And as we continue to breathe, we'll find our own natural breath. We might take a few moments, notice if we're holding tension in the muscles of the face. If so, on our exhale, we might see if we can release and relax those muscles. We might find a bit of space between the biting surfaces of the mouth. We might let the shoulders be heavy, falling away from the ears. And with each breath, allowing our body to become more relaxed, more soft, more full of ease. Letting our arms be heavy, relaxing through the belly and hips, letting the legs be heavy, maybe letting the feet roll slightly outward. Allowing ourselves to let go. Maybe taking the opportunity to remind ourselves that we are not our expectations for ourselves. We are not the expectations that others have for us. We are not our labor. We are not our work. We are not our thoughts. And as we let go of these expectations, we make space for ourselves to breathe. And that's what we'll be doing for the next few minutes, allowing ourselves space to breathe, space to rest, and space to be perfect as we are. And when we're ready, we can come back to the breath, noticing the inhale and exhale. If we are comfortable where we are and we would like to stay here, we of course can feel free. But if we'd rather, we might roll gently onto the right or left side. Slowly begin to press our way up, taking any movements that feel comfortable along the way, maybe wiggling the fingers, the toes, the head and neck. Taking any little stretches that feel good in the body. And when we arrive at our comfortable seated position, if we like, we can bring the hands to heart center, or we can place them anywhere against the body that feels good. And we'll take 3 breaths together in a way that feels good for us. We'll take a moment to thank ourselves for making space, for rest, And I'd like to thank you so much for sharing your practice with me today. It really does mean the absolute world to me.